I had mentioned that my background of loving survival stories, it's always been there. I loved the show Lost. I loved all those books growing up. So I always thought it'd be really interesting to write something about characters that are trapped together on an island. I also had read the book One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid that has a character that is it's not even a side character, but they're on an island for a year and they think that character's dead and then they just say, "Oh, they were on an island." And they don't really it's not that character's point of view. You don't know how they survived. You don't know what was going on the island. And I just thought like that's the story I'm actually interested in. So I thought what would be worse than just being on an island is being on an island with your ex. And that kind of sparked it and just grew from there. Piper has grown up with a lot of privilege. Her dad's a doctor, and she's been on this doctor track. Her parents are pretty strict and have an idea of how she should live her life and kind of what's right and proper, and they've mapped out her whole life. And she's been pretty much okay going along with it for the most part because she doesn't really know any better and she really likes the like control and safety of this predictable life that she's built or her parents have built for her. And Wyatt, it's a little bit of the bad boy that transferred into high school. He's had a rough road, a rough path. He ends up going into the army and kind of doing his own thing and really he's gone through a lot of his character growth before they meet back up. But they had um a breakup where Wyatt basically dumped Piper and then left town. So she was left just she thought this was going to be the love of her life and they were going to be together forever. Of course, they were 18, so we're not being too hard on him about it, but you learn as you read kind of what his reasoning was and why. I read a lot of stories of people who had survived plane crashes. And I tried to mimic some of the ways a plane would crash where it's almost slowed, it's slowed by trees, it's not just crashing, it's kind of it's landing really, but like it's not landing in all in one piece necessarily. But I mean, you probably won't like this answer, but I also applied a lot of rom-com magic to it, where it was like you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. This is not a dramatic survival story. It is meant to be like the rom-coms, like the Lost City, where like a car rolls down a hill and then lands perfectly, and you're like, okay, I guess that makes sense. It's more about the fun and the romance than, it actually maybe they would have been a little more injured, I think. I think they would have survived the way I wrote it, but maybe they would have been a little more injured than they actually were. The first version of the story I wrote was a lot darker and a lot more of the survival and how are they getting food and water and all of those things. And then when I realized this really is a romance at its core, and I want this to be a safe, fun place for readers to be. I don't want them to be stressed out about these characters too much. I mean, I want, there's got to be some tension, but I want them to feel like they're not going to die. They might be in trouble, but so then I scaled back and added more pieces of fun. But yeah, I feel like there are some romantic elements to being stranded on a beautiful tropical setting. The movie Blue Lagoon's a little problematic these days, but just thinking of kind of the vibe of that, it's very different than that. But yeah, the beach and the water and the sunsets, and I definitely have a storm and they have to find shelter and running in the rain and just working together on a project, which is trying to get home, brought them together.